Welcome everyone to this session. I'd like to thank Robin again for welcoming me, and also I'd like to thank you guys for being here. So today we are going to explore more on cloud native architectures and how managed services actually can help us to build resilient applications, also without leveraging on or reducing security. But also, what we do is that we try to simplify or reduce operation overhead. And also, in the same manner, we try to scale confidence. So, if I can move on to my next slide, let me talk about who I am. So, I'm your speaker today. So, who is this person? So, my name is Hare Arnold. Apparently, Robin says Arnold Hare, but whichever way is okay. So I'm a senior DevOps engineer and also a pre-sales engineer with 15 years experience on infrastructure and automation. I've been fortunate enough to work with some of our largest telcos and also across different regions, whereby I've managed to do more than 50 plus infrastructure related projects from on-premise to cloud, to software development, to DevOps engineering. So I am also very privileged to wear 3 hats, but with like 5 roles in it. So the first hat has 2 roles. That is infrastructure, where you deal with servers, from provisioning to configurations, and also automation bit to reduce the toil tasks. Then on my second hat is now the cloud engineer, whereby you provision things in cloud, and also DevOps engineering. Now combination, what planning does and what operations do together, just to improve efficiency in the cloud tech itself. And now on my third hat, I'm a pre-sales engineer with Servercore. Let me see by show of hands. How many of you have heard about Servercore? Okay. Maybe I might ask a question. What does Servercore do? Or what does it provide?
Cloud services.
That was a simple question. But yeah, it does provide cloud services. So as a pre-sales engineer, what I try to do is try to bring the business requirement aspects from startups, individuals, and try to translate this into now cloud native, let me call deployments with some principles of cloud native like models. So this is where, as a pre-sales engineer, I take you through all that process. You get to understand the principles that come with cloud native experience, and also how you can manage your applications to be resilient, to be secure, and also to be scalable. So we've talked about Servercore. You mentioned cloud services. That's good. So Servercore is an international IT infrastructure provider with local presence in Kenya. And also we are in South Asia, in countries like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and also in Europe. So what Servercore does is tries to bring about reliability, scalability, and also ensure that anyone as a client, whatever you deploy or host in Servercore's infrastructure, it meets the necessary global standards plus also local standards on board. So when I mean about global standards and how we try to bring resiliency, how we try to bring, how we try to reduce latency. So Servercore has more than 3 regions, as you see. So we are focusing mostly on what we currently have is Nairobi. So we do have our data centers in Aikolo. It's a 3-tier data center whereby we do host all our servers. So with this presence in Kenya, what it does is that it reduces minimal latency, and also it increases, actually you tend to maximize on download speeds. So in terms of latency, we guarantee you a latency of 10 milliseconds and below. So when you come to global standards, we talk about, I've mentioned about being an international IT infrastructure provider, but also with that, we have these standards which we need to meet. So one is the technology partnership. So once we onboard you as a client, what you get to know is that we are always with you. We work hand in hand with you from the inception stage to the place whereby now you can pilot your own applications in the cloud. So we try to bring about partnership, and also we can assist or get to more like introduce you to partners whereby you can build more resilient applications with cloud native principles. Another thing is that we have free communication channels from email, social channels, and also one of the best thing is our ticketing system. So our ticketing system is free, unlike most of our international competitors. And what it happens is that we tend to guarantee you a response time of 15 minutes once you raise that ticket. The next thing about, and what's so good about Servercore is that we are compliant with international standards, especially when it comes to the payment card interface DSS certifications. And also our infrastructure is ISO certified. With this, you are able to get a 99.98% in terms of uptime, uptime SLA. This is due to the modern hardware. So one thing you're sure of, in a year, you'll only experience roughly maybe 96%, 96 minutes in terms of downtime. So that's approximately like 8 minutes downtime per month. That's when there's an issue. But on other cases, you'll have 99.98% uptime. With the global standards, you also have the local benefits that come with Servercore. So what Servercore does is, one, in terms of payment, it's M-Pesa integrated. So with this, you tend to alleviate the worry of how much is the forex exchange. Like, for example, in terms of USD, today it might fluctuate. Today it might be 128. Tomorrow it might fluctuate to 163 or even 200. But now with Servercore's payment system, we assure you that as long as you are operating on the same specs of the cloud resource that you've provisioned, then you are assured of what you'll pay today in it's August 8th. Is the same amount that you'll pay in August 8, 2026, 2027, 2029. So it's the same amount because there is no that fluctuation in terms of Forex. In terms of local support, well, we are locally in Kenya, and we are currently situated in Ushuru Plaza along Mudangari Drive, whereby anyone can just pass by for coffee. Actually, Robin makes very good coffee, accompanied also Teddy. So definitely, you have local support here. In terms of tech support, well, I'm available, and also I have a team that's globally seated. So you are assured of a 24/7 support whenever you raise an issue. In terms of compliance, well, we are compliant with the DPO of 2019 and also GDPR compliant residency laws. From a survey that was done, we saw that AWS, Google, and Servercore in the same specs of a resource that you provision, we are actually 30% cheaper. So you can save 30% of whatever you're currently incurring. I've talked about Servercore. I'd like to talk about the core solutions that Servercore offers. Well, Servercore offers 3 tiers of a solution. 1 is infrastructure as a service, 2, platform as a service, and 3, data storage services. Infrastructure as a service, we have the cloud servers, which are just virtual machines that you can actually scale depending with your business needs. And we have also bare metal servers. Now, this is when you need performance when it comes to cloud resources. And also you want control of what you do. Like, for example, virtualizing your own machines. So this is where now bare metals come in handy. They give you that high power and also give you the flexibility to provision or segregate different virtual machines. When it comes to platform as a service, now we have the managed Kubernetes. Also, we have cloud databases. So manage Kubernetes, this is an orchestration tool mostly used by DevOps community and even DevOps teams or individuals who are trying to break into the DevOps tech. So it gives you the flexibility to create more replicas of your own application. Then you are with that, you tend to meet high availability. And with that it being managed, you find that you don't have to take really or worry about the infrastructure beyond it, because all the automatic updates are done by the provider, and you are assured of whatever you are running as your engine is always on the latest versions. When it comes to cloud databases, so with cloud databases, we have some database engines that we support. That is Redis, Postgres, MySQL, TimescaleDB, and Kafka. And Kafka. So actually, Kafka comes really well when you are doing microservice and containerized application. If I move to data storage services, so we have file storage. So file storage is very flexible. It can expand. You can even scale it further. And file storage are mostly attached to the infrastructure as a service like cloud servers, bare metals, managed Kubernetes. So you are assured of having that flexibility to scale when you need it. And with all these, you now have a backup service. So with the backup service is that you are able to always restore from a specific point. Like for example, when there is a failover or there is an incident, you are assured of that from your backup that you've created. You can create multiple copies. So you are able to restore to a specific point in time. And all this is automated. So you can either schedule incrementally or a full backup, depending on when you'd like your backup to take. And with that, you can always fail over or you can always restore at any point in time. So these are a couple of businesses who have entrusted us to provide them quality service. And I think by virtue of having them or allow us to list their logos, it's quite good to say that they're actually enjoying that quality service from us. So we have companies like Go Deliveries, Empires, Uzapoint, just to mention but a few, who have actually been with us and who are currently using Servercore's infrastructure. Well, I've talked about myself. I've talked about Servercore, the core solutions. But our main agenda of today is cloud natives architectures, and also what are these cloud native architectures? What are managed services? So our agenda for today is all about these three. One is what are managed services? Then we'll compare monolithic and also managed infrastructure. Then we'll further explore what makes an architecture production ready. With that, it brings us to security. For security, we look at application risks and also what comes also with infrastructure risks. Then to cover all it up and just to our final, we look at monitoring. So what is a cluster and what are these visibility that a cluster can get? And also application observability. So on today's, I can call it more of a foundation. DevOps teams, DevOps individuals, they are mostly tasked to ship applications to the market at a faster rate. But with that also, not to compromise security, reliability, and actually to make sure that whatever they're deploying has visibility aspect. Well, managed services can help you to handle such a thing, because managed services, they try to let you focus on the application logic, and you're not worrying about the heavy lifting of the infrastructure or whatever is running beyond it. So the key aspects when you look at managed services is 1, reliability, 2, scalability, 3, security, and 4, observability. So we will look at these aspects in detail when it comes to reliability, scalability, security, and observability. But before I move on to the key aspects that rotate around managed services. Probably if someone can just give me a definition of what are managed services. We are mentioning managed services, but what are these managed services? For example, just give a description.
So typically, managed services, it means that, so for example, you have these companies that are doing cloud native applications. You want them to focus on building that and leave maybe your provisioning of the server service to them. So normally it's you having the company do the core business and you handle the other support they need. Yeah.
Yep. Partly right.
So, okay, I can add from where he explained. A managed service is a service where some of majority of the operation overhead have been appreciated to you. So you focus only on your core thing. If it's the app, so no need like setting server or AS patches. No, just go ahead and try to manage your app that you are running.
Yeah, very true. Actually, both of you are right. It's good you've added the operational overhead aspect of managed services. So, what are managed services? So, managed services are mostly infrastructure platform, which you call it IT services, mostly delivered by and operated by the cloud provider. So for the client or anyone using that service, you mostly focus on building, managing application. But on the aspect of maintaining the underlying infrastructure, it's done by the provider. So you find you don't have that load to like look at what infrastructure is running, when should we upgrade, all these aspects. So that's all provided by the cloud provider. And benefits that come with managed services are like, one, you tend to reduce operational overhead and mostly focus on application logic. Two is scalability. So with this, you don't have to probably worry on fine-tuning infrastructure, because mostly it's managed and provisioned by the cloud provider. So what you just mostly check on is the cloud, the application logic itself, building that application, deploying the application, and scaling the application when you really need in terms of how much traffic you are currently experiencing. And another benefit that also managed services bring is fast or a faster time to market. So you find you will have frequent development cycles and fast like building. There is no that aspect of looking at what infrastructure will run on this, because that's all catered by the cloud provider. So you find even the time you launch or deploy, actually your products are faster to market. And hence, if you look at one of our local telco provider, Safaricom, most of the products that come on board, they're always fast to launch. So this comes with what they try to use. So managed services is partly IT services just provided, and also it brings about such benefits like operational overhead, scalability, and also value at a very faster rate for products. So examples of managed services, and mostly with most competitors, not only Servercore, even other competitors like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. So you'll find they have managed Kubernetes, managed databases, and mostly managed monitoring. So Kubernetes, this is the orchestration engine, mostly used by DevOps. You'll find that it mostly lies on containerized application, use of microservices. And when it comes to managed databases, you'll have databases engines like Postgres, MySQL, Kafka, just like what you saw Servercore offers. Then we have managed monitoring. So this is where you have Grafana Cloud. This is a managed offering that is offered by any cloud provider. And with this, it provides the visibility or where you can import dashboards, whereby you can look at your metrics, look at your logs, and from that, do analysis on those specific metrics. So all these, like for Grafana, you'll have tools like Prometheus that scrape metrics from different resources or applications, then visualized on Grafana. I'd like to do an approach between monolithic versus what we have as managed infrastructure. So monolithic architectures are mostly ones that you find they are quite huge and mostly tightly coupled in terms of components that build that application. So for these components, you'll have infrastructure and application all in one. And this makes it very hard to scale, especially if you have different modules in the same application. So if you need to like upgrade, you need to do a whole overhaul of the whole application, be it application and infra at the same time. When it comes to operational burden, you find that your team is mostly not centered on building the application, but also building the infrastructure as well. So this is where we come now to a contrast of what monolithic architecture has and what managed infrastructure provides. And managed infrastructure, like I said, it mostly entails on microservices or containerized applications. So with microservices, you find if you use tools like Kubernetes, you tend to simplify orchestration and you're able to scale. You're able to create more than one replicas of the same application, such that even if there is a downtime on one of the node, then on another node that is there, your application is still running. So this brings about high availability aspects. When it comes to updates, it's quite easy because the application is in a modular architecture. So you can definitely update one module and still have another module still working perfectly. So this tends to reduce downtime. So one, high availability. Two, scalability, since you can create more replicas of the same application. And with this, you are able to do like a better fault isolation when you're coming to troubleshooting purposes, because you can troubleshoot a specific component without even compromising agility or even creating a downtime to another component of the same application. If I can give an example of an ERP system. So an ERP system running on one particular server, that's the whole application running on one server. It has the authentication purpose, authentication function. It has probably a different function. So when it comes to manage infrastructure, you'll have the authentication auth function different as a container on its own. You'll have another functionality of an ERP system different. So when it comes to like upgrading, you find that you can upgrade the auth function without compromising the other aspects of the same ERP system. So with this, you are able to create like updates of your application, still having the same application run, thus not having any kind of downtime in the ERP system. So that's just a sample. What makes an architecture production ready? Well, we have 4 aspects that make any application, and if it really compasses any kind of cloud native principle, then that application will have these 4 aspects. 1 is reliability. 2, maintainability. 3, scalability. And 4, observability and alerting. So this is where also security comes on board. When you look at reliability, so we have multi-zone or multi-region deployments. So this is having one region in Nairobi, having another, maybe another region, maybe let's say in Mombasa. Like we've seen for Servercore, we are currently hosted in Ikolo, and Ikolo has different regions in Nairobi, currently building another in Mombasa. And we even have other regions in south of Asia. You can see Tashkent, you can see Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. So when you do a deployment, this deployment, they can be spread across all these regions. So what this happens is that for the application that you've deployed, you are assured of it being reliable at any point in time. So even if there is one region that's down, then definitely there's another region that's up. Though I can assure you with our region in Nairobi, unless a comet comes and hit that data center, then I don't see us going down any moment from now. Another thing of reliability is automated failovers. So what automated failovers does is that if there is a downtime, then it will definitely maybe route to another instance. So you kind of have that automatic switch from one instance to another when you have like multiple replicas. And this currently happens mostly on when you are looking at containerized applications, because you create more than one replica, or you can have something we called horizontal pod autoscaling. So pod is now a replica of your application. So horizontal pod autoscaling, this now depends on traffic. If there is more traffic coming into your application, what it will do, it will automatically scale the application. So you'll have like 3 replicas running. So this can be able to give a good response to any traffic that has come in. Then we have load balancing aspects for now deployments that are like on a server to server basis. So what this will happen is that you'll have a load balancer and you'll have multiple backends beneath the load balancer. So the load balancer will be doing more of like a round robin, or depending on usage to a specific instance. If one is highly utilized, then it will route to a different backend server. When it comes to maintainability, and this is where now the DevOps teams and DevOps individuals actually use continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines. We have GitHub Actions. We have tools like Azure DevOps, which kindly assist you when you're using such workflows, and you are able to have consistency across whatever you are deploying in the cloud. So this tends to avoid the human intervention. So you are assured of consistent deployment of your applications to any cloud provider. Another thing is infrastructure as code. Well, in Servercore, we have Terraform. Using Terraform templates, what you can do is that you can provision resources in the cloud automatically. Just send. Everything is API fast. So you are assured of, with Terraform templates, you can have your database in an instance. You can have your cloud question? Yeah, sure.
Servercore supports Terraform. So it has its own APIs and whatnot that integrates directly with Terraform templates. Oh, interesting.
So for all the regions that we have multiple, you have APIs in each region. So with those APIs and using Terraform templates, you're able to provision resources on the go. So this actually tries to remove the human aspect. So you only create it once and you have it. Now, the only thing you'll change is maybe the specs if you're changing the server specs. When it comes to observability and alerting, this is where now security comes on board. So from the metrics, you are able to look at or analyze such logs and probably try to create like a map or a tracing from where a request came, what it hit, if it's your database, and then you can follow more of like a trail of what happened to your instance or application at any point in time. So we have tools that come with observability, and what also I'll touch on what Servercore does is that it has open source integrations, which you can attach to the resources that you provision. Like for example, if you're very green in security aspect or visibility, so you have tools like Zabbix So, or tools like Wazoo, which you can integrate in the resources that you provision. And this will give you more of like a standard or a base way of monitoring your applications or monitoring your resource in the cloud. So these are part and parcel that comes with provisioning resources in Servercore. The best thing, they're all free of charge since they are open source. So you tend to utilize such aspects. Let's look at security in depth. So security will mostly focus on two aspects when you're dealing with cloud native models. One will be application risks, and two will be infrastructure risks. When you look at application risks, you'll find you have code vulnerabilities. I was just speaking to one of my colleagues. She told me actually she was having some leaks. So this is where now you sort these leaks. There are tools like SonarQube, and I think SonarQube they actually try for you to detect such kind of leaks. Then you can at least try to patch your code or use some mechanisms whereby you can try to resolve such issues. Then we have misconfigurations. Well, I've been in the DevOps team. I know when I change things and sometimes they do fail. So such misconfigurations, like for example, you are deploying to production with a database endpoint of test. You can just imagine such issues. So such misconfigurations is what also comes with application risks. Another thing is API abuse. Well, as you are learning to do API models, you forget the aspect of security, whereby you need to authenticate and at all times verify every request that is coming on board. So these are kind of aspects that bring API abuse, and especially for any cloud provider that does API fast interactions, then this is a point whereby you are at threat to be attacked on. When you come to infrastructure risks, now this is what mostly cloud providers really fear on. One is the network exposure. Yes, you have the cloud resources, but your network is exposed publicly. So what, as a cloud provider, what can you do? I'll give an example of what I've seen, something that's new with Servercore. They have inbuilt DDoS protection for networks. So you are assured at any point in time, all the traffic that are transiting through your network are always secure. And depending on regions, you can even use firewalls, or you can even try to avoid traffic from a specific region. Like for example, if let's say Kazakhstan is an area that's prone to attacks, then you can even block such traffic from coming your cloud resources. Another thing is improper identity access managed controls. Well, that's a feature that comes with most cloud providers. But when you don't have the skill set of trying to assign the best controls, you might find yourself giving over permissive permissions to applications or even users. Then there is the risk of unpatched containers. We are dealing with cloud native applications. We are dealing with microservices. We are dealing with images that are public. So when you don't have those patched during to the right or latest version, then you are at a risk. You are at a risk of actually a security threat or happening on your resource. Same happens to operating systems if you are using servers. But what can managed services do? Well, managed services can help us in the three aspects. If you look at them, code vulnerabilities and unpatched containers, they all lie in vulnerability sector. So what managed services do and what the provider does is automatic patching of such instances. So in an application level, like I say, security is a layered structure, and security is a two-way thing. A cloud provider provides some security aspects on the infrastructure level. Then as a developer or an enthusiast in tech, the application sector lies on your end. So you need to have automated patching. You can use most of the CI/CD tools to help you do that automatic patching of your applications and even your cloud resources. When it comes to integrated instant identity access management and policy management, it's good to create these policy scenarios or policy rules, which you are able now to control. One, to avoid the over-permissive permissions that can be assigned. So this is a one-time thing, and it will always propagate moving on in future. Apart from that, managed services provide you the secret management integrations. So this is more of a repository whereby you store your credentials, whereby you store your keys, your certificates. Then with that tool set, it's able to automatically implement those in your infrastructure. Or you can even use them if you're using containers. You just need to authenticate to that secret management, and you're able to use your certificates, your keys into your application. So it will look at the necessary frameworks. Like, for example, if you're using Let's Encrypt, every 90 days, it will do the automatic renewal of your certificate. So you are assured of at any point in time, your application requires such a certificate, then definitely you are always on the latest version. Moving on to security. As a DevOps individual, you try to avoid being reactive, but more of pro-reactive strategies to employ. So one, we have these three, I'll call them three specifications. Cluster observability. So cluster, it's just a platform. It's a managed instance. Then you have application observability. So when you look at cluster, you're looking at the node health. You're looking at resource usage. And also you're looking at auto-scaling metrics. So auto-scaling is what scales your application depending on the traffic that comes in, depending on the load that you are receiving. This creates more replicas to your application. Same can happen for cloud resources. You are able to scale, they scale up and scale out. So when you scale out, you kind of increase the nodes that you have. And when you're scaling up, you now increase the resources for that particular node. So Kubernetes events and logs, they can actually help you to troubleshoot your platform instance. In the same way, they can also help you to troubleshoot application incidents. Looking at application observability, what you'd mostly be looking at is application metrics. So we are looking at latencies. We are looking at error rates. So error rates is mostly the traffic or request you are receiving. How much is your application processing and responding to? Do we have 100% or 0% error rates? Then in terms of latency, what are we getting? Are we getting latencies that are less than like 10 milliseconds for Servercore? For latency, it's something that's dependent on not only the application, but also the infrastructure at large. Because if your application, if your code is not really processing the right amount of traffic coming in, then at one point in time, you'll have a long queue and you need to employ some more tools just to cater for that. So on an application level, from an infrastructure level, if you have less latency and your application are running on such infrastructure, then you are assured of quick response time whenever there's a request that has been hit. Then we have distributed tracing. Distributed tracing now comes with tools like OpenTelemetry. I think there's also OpenTelemetry is open source. There's tools like Datadog, which are a bit enterprise. So such tools, what they can do is that they can give you that trail for every request that is happening in your application. You are able to do a correlation of different requests that have come into your application. And all this is just to enhance your security aspect on your application level. And another thing what application can do is also business have different metrics. So you are able to customize such metrics. Not only latency, not only error rates. Probably you are looking at a different metrics at hand. Maybe if I'm looking at a database, I'll be looking at how do you call it, throughput. So these are different business metrics that you might be focusing on, and application observability comes on to give you all the three aspects. Now, if you look at monitoring tools, which can be able to cater for both application and platform-wise. So we have tools like Prometheus and Grafana that will really enhance your containerized application running on Kubernetes. You have tools like Zabbix. So Zabbix, they try to give you an observability of your application, mostly databases, and even the servers themselves. Then CloudWatch. Can someone tell me CloudWatch is from which cloud provider? No, you know. I heard you mention something to do with one of the providers. Let me mention a friend of mine.
Hello, I'm Bernard. CloudWatch is from AWS.
So these are parts of monitoring tools that can be used actually to enhance observability to application and platform. And what actually these monitoring tools do, they give you more of like insights, sometimes recommendations. And mostly you can find that also attached to AI instances or AI models, which can be able to detect an incident before it happens. I know of Zabbix, and I think I know of Zabbix that does such kind of analysis and tries to predict what can happen. Like, for example, telling you, in 2 days' time, probably your disk will be at 100% if this is not done, and gives you a bit like recommendations on what you can do just to reduce that space or scale that particular disk. So these are AI models that can be integrated to these monitoring tools. So we've talked about cloud native principles. We've talked about managed services at length. We've looked at a couple of managed services, from monitoring aspect to databases to cloud platforms. So now I'd like us to have, so what are our takeaways from this session? When to use these kind of services, that is managed services. So one, like we had said earlier, is all about focusing on application logic, building your application, and not focusing on the heavy lifting of infrastructure or the building and maintaining of such aspects. Secondly, is mostly when you need faster deployment cycles. So when you have inbuilt scaling in most of your resources, be it infra, you're able to scale your cloud resources. And at the same time, you meet the same on your application level. The third thing is when you don't have the skill set or your team is too lean to provide such functionality, then you'll have to mostly rely on managed services for such, I think, to facilitate most of your work, and also to ease in or even create more like convenience on what you're building on your application. I'd like to move on to this aspect whereby I say, as Servercore, we tend to grow with the community. So we always try to emphasize to whoever we show what we provide, and also say, if you know an individual, or if you know a company, or if you know a DevOps team that are currently working on trying to bring cloud native principles in their tech stack, then bring them on board. And with that, we tend to have this affiliate program whereby we give 10% or 15% reward on a monthly basis, depending on the usage of the guys that you've referred to. So when you refer guys to us, then we assure you over 10 and 15% gratuity, depending on the usage and payment that is done by those guys referred. Well, this comes to the end of my slides. I'd like to say thank you. And if you have any questions, I think Robin, let me not take the MC part.